Well, yeah, but he can still be in that 11.
Oh, yeah, he can... don't get me wrong, I think Havertz is a good player to have in the squad.
And his confidence must be so much better now too.
Yeah,
because he definitely wasn't confident, was he?
It's interesting to see with these sort of players. You know, obviously, because we was obviously saying like he wasn't good enough and all this, but when a player gets confidence, you'd be surprised like how good they can be.
I think it's the same for a lot of players. I think it shows that United bring United into everything, but it's just because it's the team we support and it can draw the comparisons the best. When we bring players in, they almost become part of the environment that surrounds them. You know, unless you've got a very big ego and the talent as well.
Yeah.
We bring these players in and they sort of become subject to how we play and the body language and they've sort of got this aura about them, United, these days, that they can throw games away and they're like losers.
Yeah.
They really are. Whereas Arsenal at the minute, the energy's really high. They're playing good football. There's a clear idea from what they're supposed to do from the manager. And he's come in and managed to slowly start to take that on now. Yeah. Whereas I think at first it was a bit unknown, really. What's he supposed to be doing?
Yeah, but even at first, the difference between Arteta and Ten Hag, even at first, you could see what Arteta was wanting to do. And that's why you could probably believe in the project a bit more. But even Arsenal fans were telling Arteta to get out of the club, weren't they, at some point?
But it was dreadful.
Yeah.
Like, it was never... They were playing poor football and the performances weren't there, but they've had a lot of signings since then that I'm assuming Arteta's been a part of.
Yeah,
They didn't even have Ødegaard like back then. And him going from being a loan player to being a signed player, he's one of the best in the league at that position.
Yeah.
And he's unbelievable to watch. Saka's just got better and better because he was a young prospect when Arteta came in.
He's still only 22 as well, Saka.
I feel like he's been getting a lot of stick recently.
Yeah.
Whether that's justified or not, I'm not sure.
No, because I think, do you know what kicks it off? Rio said Foden was world class and Saka isn't, which I agree with. But it kicked it off with Arsenal fans saying, how can you say Foden and not Saka?
I think Saka's a world-class talent and probably will be world-class, but Foden is world-class.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
I don't think that's knocking Saka down a peg at all, but Phil Foden's played in high-profile games on many more occasions than Saka has and delivered.
So that's like because of the team he's in. Maybe if Saka was in City, yeah.
But yeah, for sure. But he isn't, so we can't do that.
Yeah.
And if they go and win the league, it elevates him because he'll have had world-class performances throughout a season against Liverpool and Man City in the title running, who are both fantastic teams with fantastic players. So he needs to add more silverware. Needs to get that in his locker. He needs to perform for England, which he has been doing when he's played more recently for England.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think they're just getting a bit overprotective about that, to be honest.
You would though.
Which you would, it's one of your own. I get that.
Maybe if like Rashford was performing for us and other people are saying, oh, he's not world class, and maybe if like he was
world class at times last season, but he's never been a world class footballer.
No.
And maybe you could say the same for Saka. You know, he's had world class performances.
There was something when like they were saying like a lot of the media and social media now, in general, give a lot of players grief, and it can affect the way they play, which I get, and I don't really like because we've got this platform now. I personally don't, even though we haven't got the reach to them. Yeah. I personally don't really like slating the players, but it's just us as fans evaluating what we see.
Yeah, not really knocking it.
We'll give the credit when they start doing well.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're being...
Well, that was like the Havertz thing.
Yeah.
Like, I personally, I'd never really seen what the money price tag that had been put on him when he went to Chelsea and then subsequently Arsenal. I just couldn't believe it. Because I've not seen that from him in the Premier League to warrant that money. But we're starting to see it now.
Yeah. But I watched the overlap and they was discussing this and they said one or two, they didn't name who it was, but one or two at the table, on the overlap table, have had players' agents get in touch with them saying, why are you saying this about
slandering the players and stuff. It's their job.
That's unbelievable to me. An agent getting in touch with him. Like, the way I see it, obviously I'm not a player, but the way I see it, if I'm playing bad, it's up to me to change that. I don't care what people are saying about me.
Yeah, you change the narrative yourself by
obviously
performing.
It's all like mental health, all that stuff. You've got to like look after yourself, and it's not good when say, "Oh, Liam's playing shit."
But you just got to know it's not for these pundits that are ex-players that have been in that position. Yeah, it's not a personal vendetta.
No.
Some of them it might not come across the best way. sometimes, and maybe that can be helped. But there's no malintent there. They're just analysing their performances, which is fair enough.
And football fans are very passionate, so they do like recency bias. There is a lot of it in there.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah, in summary, great win for Arsenal.
Trossard, amazing signing, I think. I think he's great.
He's been keeping Martinelli out, hasn't he?
Yeah.
I don't know if he had a knock at some point in the season, but Arteta just doesn't seem to be fancying him, Martinelli, as often. You know, he's getting 10, 15 minutes here and there. You know, the amount of goals that guy was scoring like last season, I think even maybe at the start of this year, he started quite well.
I said I think Arteta wants to control a bit, and Martinelli's more of a direct player.
Yeah, maybe, yeah. I mean, Jesus being back for them, because he's been so in and out of that team with injury since he signed for Arsenal. I mean, he was right amongst the goals as soon as he started, wasn't he, when he first signed? And there was a lot of people, I mean, me and you've spoken on it before, like, is he your guy to go and get you them goals? And it's looking like, you know, now he's sort of playing out wide again, where, like, that's what he was doing at City.
He admitted it, didn't he? He liked playing out wide. He's not a full-on... He said didn't he say he's not a goal scorer?
Well, if they can use him that way... But I always thought in my head, he made the move to Arsenal because he wasn't getting minutes as a number 9 for Man City.
Yeah.
He was getting used at Manchester City, but he was a backup and he'd get thrown on the wing and all sorts of stuff like that. And in reality, that same thing's happening to him here at Arsenal. But tough one to analyse that, because I do think...
You don't know what's being
You've
said.
not seen anywhere near enough of him, though.
No.
Because he has been unavailable for a lot of the time he's been an Arsenal player.
I think, personally, obviously, I wouldn't see Ben White as the right back for Arsenal's future. I see him more of a squad player, but I think he's having a really good season.
He's really held his own all year.
Yeah.
And he was good at points last season too.
Yeah.
I
think he's a solid right back. I just think maybe for the future, I think you get a more out-and-out right back. Maybe.
Well, who did they get? Who else did they sign that we've not really seen a lot of?
It was
Timber.
Yeah.
Is he left back?
No, he's right back, centre back.
So there you go. Oh, right, okay. So there you go. I mean, I don't even know what position he plays, as I've seen him play like one game at the start of the year.
Yeah, but no, he's a bit...
Maybe he's the long-term solution.
All across the back line.
But Timber. That centre-back pairing's brilliant, and I do actually think...
Oh, they've been the best this season.
I think Gabriel deserves a bit of a shout, just on the basis that, because Saliba is probably really the main man there for majority of fans would say.
Arsenal fans are saying Gabriel's been the best centre-back this season,
though. See, I couldn't comment on that 100% because I don't feel like I've watched Arsenal enough to say if he's been better than Saliba or not. But for how good he has been when I have watched him, and I feel like Saliba's just the one that gets all the plaudits because he got brought, when he came back from that loan spell and got integrated into the first team, it was like, wow, what a difference this has made.
I think Saliba's the better player.
Yeah.
But I think Gabriel's having the better season.
And I think he's victim there, Gabriel, too. He was there before Saliba was playing.
Yeah.
So he sort of got the rep of the performances before the team was playing as good as it is now. But he's equally as important to that back line. I think that pairing is key.
Yeah.
You know, if Gabriel was out, I think they'd struggle as much as when Saliba was out last season. So I think he deserves a shout because he's been very consistent all year.
Yeah, very good.
But yeah, still up there, Arsenal.
Keeping them clean sheets, like we say about that back line, I think they've been the best partnership in the league this season.
I think defensively, I don't know if they are statistically the best, but I would imagine they probably are.
Goal difference could come into play as well.
I know, and they're
the best on that.
Smashing it, aren't they?
Yeah. Well, let's see what they've got. 51 to Liverpool's 42 and City's 40.
So you'd say it'd be unlikely between now and the end of the season that they'll make up that ground. They could do because City have got they've got Luton next week.
Wasn't it 2 6-0 wins back to back they got?
Yeah,
or was
they were scoring
5-0 something like that?
There was a spell where they were scoring goals for fun.
Yeah, and that's really paid off, hasn't it?
Yeah, but you know, City and Liverpool are both capable of doing that.
Yeah.
So, but you would say at the minute you give the edge to Arsenal based on that.
Just don't look further down because that's a bit embarrassing.
Yeah, -1, not great. Should we touch on that now? Because it's probably Liverpool's turn to have a bit of...
It is Liverpool's turn, which means we're talking about United as well.
I went to the game yesterday.
Yep.
You watched it at home, didn't you?
Yep.
First half, barring a 10-minute spell at the start where we kind of came out the blocks, and even then we didn't create chances.
So to say, that's actually probably best. Obviously, I prefer to go to the game, but for circumstances, I can't at the minute. But do you know what? I think that's probably best. You seeing it in person because you can see stuff I can't. And me watching it on TV, I can see stuff you can't.
It's a completely different perspective, and you also get the general feel more of how the crowd's perceiving what they're watching as well, better than you do on TV. But yeah, I would say my assessment of it was that we came out okay for 10 minutes, didn't really create anything, but obviously Garnacho had an offside goal early on. And then as soon as Liverpool sort of got in the game, we didn't play until the second half.
As soon as Liverpool got in the game, they could have been 4-0 up.
Yeah, Liverpool they had so many chances.
Yeah, Liverpool couldn't finish, and it's their own downfall this game. They should have beaten us by a lot.
I mean, we concede the first goal from a set piece, disappointing, gets knocked on. Onana kind of maybe could have done better, but I'm not going to criticise him for it.
I think De Gea saves it, but
I don't know from what I saw of him in some of the latter years, but
I think. Do you know what? I was saying this to my parents the other day. Well, at the game when we was watching the game, I said, "Do you know what?" I was like saying, obviously De Gea saves that, but I think De Gea tarnished his legacy for the last 2 years of his career, because the last 2 years
were so much worse.
Yeah, his last 2 years of his career, he was losing us games.
Well, I mean, he won the Golden Glove and then we sold him, but you couldn't really say that he was fantastic. He wasn't. He had good games and he had good moments, but he also had horrible moments.
Yeah,
and you'd have to say for Onana this season, I genuinely think now because we give him a bit of stick and criticised him.
He's more settled now.
He's looked in the Premier League solid.
Yeah,
he's looked good. The Champions League, he was a disaster, and he's the main reason we're not in that competition. We'd probably have got knocked out anyway, but from that group,
he did do a penalty save, but
he did.
Yeah,
but we should have qualified from that group.
Yeah,
he played well enough in terms of in front of goal.
Yeah,
and then we let teams back in with stupid mistakes from the goalkeeper. He's been one of the best goalkeepers in the league this season, and I know there'll be people, if we post that anywhere, that will not rate that as a shout at all. But I genuinely think, especially if you watch United, the amount of shots this guy is faced with.
True.
On the ball, he has looked loads better, which obviously is something we've not been used to seeing at all in the whole time De Gea has been at the club. Did you just take that then?
No, I didn't mean to take it before. Right, yeah, go on.
But yeah, I think you got to take into consideration the amount that he's being called into action.
Yeah, so we'll just throw a stat out there because we love stats.
We do.
I don't really. But
no, I don't either. I don't know why we both said that.
But in the top 5 leagues in all competitions, Man United are the highest of shots faced with 726.
Which you can believe, but when you put it in this perspective, we've conceded more shots than Luton, Sheffield United,
and West Ham.
I mean,
Newcastle
specifically
had their back line all in.
Specifically Luton and Sheffield United, because they're in the relegation zone. Well, Luton are teetering around the edge of it. Sheffield look like they're going down. So to compare a Manchester United team that have spent a lot of money with that is terrible, terrible reading. But any United fan or football fan that's watched United a lot this season would not be surprised at that stat, I don't think.
No, but the thing is, what's actually scary, obviously you see a load of numbers there, but if you actually look deep at the numbers, so United are top with 726. West Ham are behind them. That's 705?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Yeah, so West Ham have got 705. So then third place is 627.
Newcastle.
That's a lot of shots.
I'm looking at Sheffield and I'm thinking they are dreadful.
Yeah.
584 they've faced. It's a big difference.
It's massive.
And I know we've played some more games than they have because we've been in European competition, and I'm assuming that's probably taking all of, whether that's just the Premier League, I don't know, or it's all the games that you've played.
All
not completely
sure.
Yeah, so we've played more games than Luton and Sheffield United because we conceded a lot of goals and chances in the Champions League for the 4 games we were in it.
So it's 253 of them shots. This is for United.
In
11
they're in 2024.
Yeah, in 2024 we've played 11 Premier League games, and it's 253 shots against us in them 11 games.
It's dreadful, and it's no wonder that Liverpool got the chances they did yesterday.
Oh no, you're not surprised at that.
But I'm surprised they didn't take the chances. But again, just to touch back on Onana, I think giving him a shout as being one of the better goalkeepers in the league, I think that's perfectly reasonable. I'm not saying he's been
them.
Yeah, I'm not saying he's been the best.
No,
because I really did expect him to sort of revolutionise our team and let us play. But you would have to say, and I'll cut them a bit of slack here, although they have been dreadful all season. is it must be quite difficult to build from the back when there's a different set of two players in front of him nearly every match.
Yeah.
That can't be good in terms of building team cohesion and knowing how they play, because there's a different centre-back pair in nearly every game.
You ask every centre-back that have played, I've watched interviews, and they all say the same thing. You need to develop a partnership.
Yeah, and it's a spine as well, isn't it?
Yes,
especially when you're playing out.
You have to have that spine, don't you? And that's why I sympathise with Liverpool a bit. Like, if they lose, maybe... I don't sympathise with them, really.
You understand?
Yeah, I understand, because they've obviously had their centre-backs out now and again, haven't they? They've been playing Kwanzaa. Van Dijk hasn't really...
He's not a consistent partner all season.
No, he's not really developed a partnership, has he? But, yeah, like that's what's working in Arsenal's favour. Because that partnership has lasted all season.
Yeah,
really.
even City have had to juggle it a bit, but obviously they kind of play a different system, so it's a bit different. But
just the 3 games that Liverpool have played United this season, they've managed to get 87 shots.
Yeah, and the fact they've not won a game against us this year.
Yeah, they haven't even won. So 87 shots against us, and they haven't even won. That you got to start questioning what your strikers are doing. Really.
I mean, it's a very, very little thing to be pleased about if you're a United fan, that in Klopp's farewell tour of the Premier League, he didn't beat United once. He drew at home, drew away in the league.
If they lost to us, that day, they could have thrown the title away there.
You say any loss right now for those 3 chasing it could be title gone.
It's who messes up first, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so. But even then, the Premier League, it's crazy. All 3 of them could lose a game and still, I don't think that's very likely. But at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if all 3 of them win the majority of their games for the rest of the season. But obviously, Arsenal and City are in the Champions League, and Liverpool are in the Europa League. So they've all got European games, but maybe Liverpool can get away with resting players a little bit more than those two. The fixtures that City and Arsenal get are tougher on paper. So
I will say something. I think the loyalty towards Darwin Núñez from the Liverpool supporters is very surprising. No, sorry. It's not surprising because I understand what he does.
They never treat players like that, though.
No.
Liverpool don't.
But I understand what he does in his game and that. But the amount of chances this guy misses.
I mean, to be honest, I look at him and Højlund and I sort of compare them because they're both quite young strikers.
Yeah.
And although I think Højlund's ceiling could be higher, I'd rather have Darwin Núñez right now. I would, obviously I don't want him. But what I mean is, I feel like there's more to his game than Højlund's right now.
He can go out the wing and Højlund can't.
And he can get in games. He might be missing chances.
I think Højlund's more of an out-and-out striker, isn't he?
We can't get the guy in games again, which is like how it was at the start of the season before he had his goal-scoring spell. And obviously it's frustrating because he's then out with an injury and he's not really picked up the form that he left off, which is understandable.
I honestly think Højlund, obviously we've seen his movement like firsthand. I honestly think if you start playing to Højlund's strengths and start getting him in the game, I think he could get at least 20 goals a season.
We don't create a lot of chances for him. He has to sort of create a bit of something from nothing.
Yeah.
Yesterday he's up top and we're asking him to bring the ball down against Van Dijk. It's a tough ask for him.
Yeah. When they because Klopp was going mad, like he was going insane. Like
I saw him go mad when they conceded the second goal, but bar that I didn't really pay much attention to him.
Yes, and then he made I think he made 4 substitutions in 2 minutes.
Yeah, so
he made 2 and then 2 again. Yeah. And ever since he got Harvey Elliott on, I think Harvey Elliott changed the way the game were looking. I think he controlled it a bit better. He passed it, moved.
But I think that came simultaneously, and I'm going to give Erik ten Hag a bit of stick here, which
that's a surprise, isn't it?
Well, it's just me, and I'm still undecided on how I feel about him overall. But the decision to me to take off Garnacho for Amrabat was very naive, but there was no excuse for it being naive. I'm not saying Liverpool couldn't get back in the game anyway, and even if they would have beat us, I wouldn't have been shocked.
Yeah.
Even from 2-1 up. But at what point are we taking off one of our players that is an outball, who's pressing, who's got high energy, to bring on another midfielder and try and hold that 2-1? I don't think he should know by now that team can't do that. And I think from that point onwards, when we took away one of our outballs, we were then playing on the counter, which we were a lot in the game at times anyway, but we were then basically saying, we're playing on the break and we're going to sit in and try and win this game 2-1, and maybe we'll hit them on the break and get a goal. And we just invited the pressure. And from the results that he's had it in the last 7 days before the Liverpool game, I can't believe that's a decision that he's made. I would have been happy with Amrabat coming on to freshen up the midfield and him take off a like for like.
Yeah,
but Casemiro. To take off one of your forward players and try, I don't think he's trying to control. I think Amrabat is a defensive-minded player where he wants to break it up and he's soak up the game a little bit. I can't say that for certain because I've not seen enough of him and he's not been great when he's played.
But you're also getting rid of a bit of a press with Garnacho as well, aren't you?
Yeah, and you know he's your first one. If you are under a bit of pressure and you want to throw it out, he's out there making the run.
Yeah.
And I hated that substitution.
To be honest, I'm literally thinking and stuff. Obviously, we've watched the game. I'm trying to think, like, obviously we've mentioned about Liverpool missing the chances, how they've created a lot of chances. I'm trying to give Liverpool a bit of praise here because I don't want to be too biased on this pod. I'm trying to be as even as I can. But I can't give them praise because obviously they're the better team. We all know that. But I can't give them praise because they've missed that many chances. And when I think back on the game, I don't even think they played well because if they played well, they would have beat us.
Yeah. They were wasteful,
yeah,
which is not something you associate with Liverpool. I know Núñez has had games where people question his finishing ability at times, but all round they're not wasteful. Salah had a few chances where Mo Salah, who always scores against United, and
he skied two of them.
He had a lot of chances where, to the point where, honestly, when he stepped up for the penalty, I thought he might fucking miss this, because it was not his day.
Yeah. Just before we move on, I do want to actually mention something to you. So Gary Neville and Carragher. So Carragher actually asked Gary Neville this on commentary during the game. He was like, Dalot being United's best player this season? And Gary Neville said, yeah. Do you agree?
I think it'd be hard to disagree. I don't outfield. I mean, obviously,
considering what we said at the start of the season.
I'm happy to swallow my pride there. Yeah. This guy, I did not like his performances at all. I didn't see him getting any better until this season, and he hit this spell of form, which hopefully is going to be the way he just continues to play. But he's played at left back, he's played at right back, and for the majority of the season, I do think he started poorly.
Yeah,
because I remember slating him this season.
Yeah,
but he hit a gear, and he's just been better and better and better. And I don't think there's been many. Kobbie Mainoo's been great since he's come in, but he's not played all year, so I feel like it'd be harsh to give him that credit when Dalot has played a lot more.
Like our standout players, like Rashford, Bruno. They've all been poor. There is a shout for Garnacho.
I've been impressed with Varane when he's played because I feel like he has actually been available a lot of this season until this point. I think Maguire's been good when he played. I mean, he won Player of the Month at one point. But Dalot has been there all season, regardless of who else has not been in that back line. So, yeah, I think that's fair enough.
Yeah, I think it's a shout between Garnacho and Dalot, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, Liverpool fans have been singing Quansah's praises this season, probably rightly so.
He's been good.
He's been good, yeah.
Big mistake.
He makes a mistake, yeah. But it tests his character now.
Yeah.
As a young player.
Yeah, it's a difficult one to take, but it can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
It's obviously not something he's intended to do, and it's the worst possible outcome from his mistake.
Still waiting for Szoboszlai to hit that gear. Probably you'll see that next season.
I thought McAllister was solid again. He controlled the game. Really.
We're on about Dalot being United's best player. I think McAllister's got the shout for being Liverpool's.
Yeah, I mean, could that change between now and the end of the season? I'm not sure. But yeah, certainly the front runner.
Yeah.
Their best player so far this season.
It's been great.
And one of the signings of the season. A lot of Liverpool fans
definitely
will probably say the signing of the season, but I've got to look at Declan Rice at the moment.
Yeah, we'll do that towards the end of the season as well. We'll have a look into that more deeply. So, yeah.
But a point doesn't really matter too much for United. You'd say their quest for top four is well and truly done.
And to be fair, the point hasn't really done Liverpool much damage either because they're drawing on points with Arsenal. Obviously, Arsenal winning because of goal difference, but
yeah.
And
City is still a point behind. So I mean, if they continue to win, it's more Arsenal that's the concern, than City. But City, as you know, could potentially win every single game that they have left now. So, be very interesting to say the least.
Yeah.